You're dialed in to the Dealer Playbook Podcast, where it's all about winning auto dealer strategies that deliver proven results. And now your hosts, Robert Weissman and Michael Cirillo.
Hey there, and thank you so much for listening to episode 36 of the Dealer Playbook Podcast. Every single week, we're sitting down with the who's who in and out of the automotive industry to share actionable insights that will deliver you winning results. You know, real insights that'll take your business to the next level. We do that every week. Wanted to let you know, just in case this is your first time tuning in, we appreciate you being here. My name is Michael Cirillo. I'm joined by my co-host and partner in crime, Robert Weissman. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well, sir.
Really crazy. It's been a fun, how long's it been? 10 months of doing the show. Every Thursday, new episodes coming out. We missed a couple there for holidays and whatnot, but, the show's really picked up a lot of traction. So excited to have, listeners in 50 countries around the world. We could have never expected that kind of support. It's been phenomenal. But that's because, like I said, every week we're bringing you actionable insights. We're sitting down with these guests who, just have so much knowledge and a wealth of knowledge to share, but most importantly, actionable insights that you can implement into your daily routine. Today's no exception. We're excited to have Laura Madison on the show. She's an automotive sales professional. We've been following on social, and she's mentioned she's been checking us out, which is cool. Actually, I think she said it was creepy that she felt we weren't, aware of her, but she was following us, which is not true. We've certainly, been following her and noticing, some things that she's been doing as far as personal branding and whatnot to help her career. I mean, she's been selling cars for 4 years and has already made a massive positive impact on her career, her dealership, and the community she's in. So, let's jump into our sit down with her. I think you're really going to enjoy it with Laura Madison. Here we go. All right, and we are here excited to be sitting down with, you probably have seen her. She's a sales professional at Ressler Motors and an enormous Toyota enthusiast. She's actually originally from the East Coast, from Vermont, which we now understand, and now lives in Bozeman, Montana. She's spent nearly 4 years selling cars and creating a personal brand. She does it extremely well. Her name is Laura Madison. We'd like to welcome you, Laura, to the show today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
It was kind of funny pre-show. We were talking and you're like, oh man, I kind of feel like a creep because I've been following you guys, and we're like, well, no, actually, we've been following you too. We just never have spoken to you in person. So this is kind of a cool first interaction with you to kind of be able to pick your brain about some things that I think will really help those sales professionals listening in to shape the rest of this new year. I mean, it's January 1st today that we're releasing this podcast, 2015, first of the new year. And I mean, this is the perfect time for those listening in to learn some, I think, strategies and tips that they can implement into not only their personal branding, but just really shaping their career and having a massive positive impact on themselves and their circle of influence in 2015. So with that as the premise, I want to kind of just turn it over to you. I noticed a video on your website, lauradrives.com. You're talking about personal branding, and you bring up some really, poignant concerns and problems that sales professionals face. It's staggering. I mean, there's 220 some odd thousand automotive sales professionals in the United States alone. Wow. Many of which I suspect it's the 80-20 rule, and maybe even a little less than that, of those that are really making it big in the business, making an impact like yourself, and those that are struggling. So my question to you is, what are, let's pick three of them. What are three fundamental struggles that automotive sales professionals face today? And then we can kind of maybe dive into what your solution is and how you've built your career there at Ressler Motors.
Definitely. So I think the three biggest challenges that salespeople face are leads, whether it's floor traffic, lot traffic, internet, Not having enough people ask for you leads is definitely the largest problem. Number two is the store, the management. There's often tension in that relationship for various reasons. And the third problem I see is differentiation. So unable to communicate with customers why the product stands apart from maybe a competitor, why your store stands apart from one down the road, and why maybe you as a salesperson stand apart from anybody else in the business.
Okay, very good. So leads, management issues, and differentiation. These are all very, very key problems. Let's start with leads. 4 years, not a long time to be in the car business, but you've really kind of excelled and have made a name for yourself. What are you doing to have a continuous flow of leads?
I'm doing a combination of things. The biggest thing that I'm trying to do is something that Grant Cardone calls getting out of obscurity. I'm really trying to introduce myself to prospective buyers, to people that already own maybe a Toyota locally, and really just trying to kind of get myself out there.
Okay, so you say prospecting and introducing yourself. What does that typically entail?
I think the best way to get out there isn't to essentially broadcast commercials, ask people to buy, ask for referrals. I think the best way is to build relationships by sharing some of the value that I have being in the business. And although 4 years hasn't been that long, you learn quite a lot, whether it's from manufacturer training or just from really kind of, this is a people business, really watching the habits and the anxieties of buyers. So sharing some information that can help them on their buying journey has been really successful for me, really trying to kind of provide value there.
Mm-hmm. So let me walk us through a typical day in the life of Laura at the dealership. What are some of the things that you are engaging in on a daily basis to drive these leads and to, as you said, and as Grant says, pull yourself out of obscurity?
Yeah, so the first thing I would begin after my morning sales meeting is trying to bang out at least one video. I film everything on my iPhone, so I'm really not that high tech, but I find that if I don't do it in the morning, sometimes it never gets done. So I try and film a video or two if I have time, maybe even edit them right away. But I think that YouTube has a really strong power, and I think Robert would really agree with me on that front. So that's kind of where I begin. And of course, as your day gets interrupted from service customers coming in to say hello or people stopping by or appointments, it becomes a little more choppy after that. But I really try and engage at least in the early afternoon on some social media, maybe share some of the content, whether it was a video or a blog post that I was able to do earlier that day. Mm-hmm. And those are the main things that I kind of try and keep really consistent. So
I mean, from the sounds of it, and I mean, you're preaching to the video choir over here with Robert and using iPhone especially, and Robert has a cool resource guide that we'll link you guys to in the show notes of this episode. But how long did it take you to kind of come up with this process for doing videos? Like, do you spend a good amount of time doing them? Do you have topics lined up ahead of time, or is it kind of, more off the cuff and raw? Like, hey, you know what? I feel impressed to do this, and I'm going to do a video about this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a combination of the two. When I first started doing video, which was within the first 6 months of working in the car business, I would script everything and brainstorm constantly. And what I've noticed has happened is once you start to build momentum, all of a sudden ideas appear everywhere, and you don't have enough space in your phone to make the notes for all the ideas you have. And I have customers emailing saying, hey, can you show me the space behind the third row in the 4Runner? So sometimes I get help. Mm-hmm. People really wanting to see something in particular. So it really kind of depends. But sometimes I'll wake up and I'll say, hey, you know what? I'm going to focus on Camry today because that's really the mood. So it all really depends. But I did get to a point where I stopped scripting and really started just kind of speaking a little bit more naturally. And I can tell you it's really gotten easier as the time has gone on and taken quite a bit less time to do a video or two.
And now tell me if this is totally off base, but would you say one of the biggest struggles that people face doing video for the first time is actually having to look at themselves and hear themselves?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I can't tell you how often. I mean, I have salespeople contact me from all over the country saying, "What do I do?" And when
Right.
I do get the chance to respond and say video, I can't, whether it's women or men, whether they've been in the business for 5 months or 15 years, they tell me that they don't
They're
want to see themselves.
terrified of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert, is this kind of like your same path to doing the video thing? Was it like, hey, just off? What was it more raw for you, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, go back. I mean, I am the biggest. You go back to my earlier stuff. If you want to know what not to do, go back and look at everything earlier that I did. But luckily, I was a very early adopter to using it, and it, it just spun for me. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a lot of people. I mean, I can relate with her, very closely with, people contacting you every day, asking you, hey, what can I do to start driving my own leads? Everybody wants the leads, but they don't want to put in the work to do it. My whole thing was, nobody else is doing this, so I'm going to do it. That's all I look for. I was just like, anything that nobody was doing or wasn't the norm, I was quick to do.
And that's cool too, because I mean, you said something, Laura, about, once the momentum starts going, it's kind of this freight train. And you're saying this now, Robert, doing something that nobody else is doing. And it's kind of funny because, I mean, this episode is all about helping those of you listening in to really shape your career. But in the same token, I mean, being an automotive sales professional is a competition, and it's very much like any other form of business competition where you will advance and conquer by doing the things that nobody else is willing to or hasn't thought of doing yet. So I love that we're talking about video and that's something that you use. And I love that you're walking us through the process here, especially with the iPhone, right, Robert? You're kind of preaching to the Apple choir.
Yeah. It's the easiest way to do it with the set. By the time you take your regular, if you use any other type of camera, your setup and takedown, it just makes it less likely to do it when it's harder to go in and do it.
And so
I'm surprised to hear from her though sorry, Michael.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to hear that you say it got easier than from scripting. Now, when you say scripting, are you scripting like line for line, or are you just doing bullets? Or are you just doing like more of bullets of what you were going to cover? Because for me, I like to kind of, and I try to preach that I think that you should plan out the video as much as possible, because to wing it, to me, I think the effort that goes into winging something is exhausting. And the like just planning, knowing what I'm going to go in and go out, like I'm a rambler, as you can see. I have a tendency to do that. So when I know where I'm going and what I'm doing, it just seems to get done better.
Yeah, so are you going in still kind of scripted with these, or is it you've just become so comfortable now doing it that you just know what you want to say and the format and the calls to action and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, when it's a car on the lot, whether it's used that I'm trying to feature or if it's new, maybe a redesign, I don't script that. I'll think a little bit about it. Maybe I've even gone to Toyota training, so I kind of have their bullet points in regard to what they want me to highlight, even when I'm walking around the vehicle with the customer. But I really don't script those anymore, because I used to do word for word, and it would take so long. And I always thought what I wrote was better than what I'd come up with off the top of my head. So I'd try and splice all these clips together of me remembering a line and then spacing. And but now with some of these videos, like Michael, the one you mentioned about personal branding and some of the problems it solves, that was something that I did script out in bullet points, because I want that point to be clear. So it seems that I'm more comfortable on the car lot when I'm talking about the cars, not going with a script, but that's certainly something that evolved.
Cool. So, and you using a selfie stick, or what are you using, a tripod?
I a little bit of a selfie. The Toyotas, I'm very fortunate, have a place where you can literally just kind of lean the camera on the dash.
Oh, nice.
So when I'm in the car, that's generally what I do. And then I also love used car Ricky over in Texas. He's a big fan of just rubber banding the phone to a stick.
There you go. But I love that, because it really shows that, look, it doesn't take tons and tons of effort to get doing this, but look at the
people
impact
get
that it
too
can
intimidated. People let the tech and the accessories bog them down, and slow them down. Like I like to hear that. You just rubber band it up and get busy. That's it.
Yeah, because I don't think the content needs to be profound. I just think it needs to exist to begin working. And Robert's written some great articles about if you do kind of upgrade tech, what to go to. And that's certainly something I see in my future. But for now, it's important to get the content out there. And you guys wouldn't believe how many people email me and say, what kind of microphone are you using? And
I know. Love it. I'm telling you and me are two peas in a pod. I'm telling you. And my thought, and here's something that me and Michael like to talk about a lot is it's a lot of it's depending on your market and where you're at. Like for example, you're doing these videos to sell more to brand yourself amongst car shoppers. Now, in your marketplace. Now, different places that are more competitive, or I'm not saying you're not in a savvy market per se, but bigger market, major markets, I think that the quality is more important than the quantity, and the quality has more is more relevant in different places across the world even.
Exactly. Yeah. And I can see somebody in a more metropolitan area wearing a suit and getting a little bit better quality in regard to filming. I'm in Montana, where most of the people here still have dial-up internet because we're so rural.
Fair enough. So it's really, you need to do a little bit of ground research and make sure that you're speaking to your market where you exist, and then coming up with a strategy. Okay, cool. So just to kind of round off this leads problem here, talked a lot about video. Gosh, we're into 2015. If you're not doing video by now, please, dear Lord, help these people start doing video, right? But what are a couple other, tools or resources that you use to generate leads for yourself?
Let's see. I definitely like Facebook a lot as well, because the idea, again, is just to get people connected with you. And I just want to go back briefly. We've spoken a little about how people don't like to hear themselves or see themselves. Mm-hmm. I just think it's really important to get your face out there. The psychology behind connecting a face with a message is really, really important.
Right.
And just really reaching out and continuing these relationships. I can't tell you how much Facebook has helped me, directly sell a car. Sometimes I posted a classic on there over Memorial Day weekend. It was a 67 Corvette Stingray, and it sold within 2 days after I had posted it off of Facebook. And
that's powerful, because we go to these conferences and we always hear somebody say something along those lines, but yet do you kind of feel like most dealerships, and I think most salespeople, are still kind of hesitant to know how to do social media in a way that they can get those sorts of results?
Yeah, and I think, I didn't always know, nor do I know everything now. I think sometimes we're going to bumble along and make a mistake or two, but just having a presence and being connected with customers, it makes it easier for them to refer you. I can't tell you how often I'm tagged by somebody because somebody put a status up about test driving, and a friend of mine said, hey, you've got to work with Laura. Mm-hmm. So just really kind of beginning the trust there, just existing on social media, I think is really, really helpful in regard to generating more leads and more recognition.
And it kind of, for me, I like that you said that. I mean, it kind of ties into the whole content thing for me. You'd said something earlier about creating the content, which is really like, hey, you know what? Create the content, because the content will find you an audience.
Yeah, exactly.
And then coupling that with a Facebook or a social strategy, and utilizing social for what its primary purpose was when it first came out, which was to be social and engage with people. Now it's an advertising network, Facebook is. And so if all of your social posts are of an advertising nature, then you're just kind of blending in. So it's kind of funny thinking that, going back to the roots of what social media is about, which is building relationships, like you said, and being social and connecting with people, that you'll actually stand out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So tons of valuable nuggets there. Like I said, we'll get you guys tagged up with a resource guide that Robert's put together for doing the iPhone thing, and now you've heard some great validation from Laura about using an iPhone and the type of video production you can use, and then also getting connected on social media. But you brought up another one, which has actually come up, another concern which has come up in past episodes of the podcast, which is dealing with or working with management. What is the struggle? What is the concern on a daily basis to put management as your number 2 concern?
I can't speak to their struggle, but what I can speak to is there's a lot of turnover in this industry. So sales managers specifically, are almost always training and teaching and retraining, and I imagine it's fairly exhausting. So when I sat down to plan out this video and to plan out, what are the problems that salespeople see, it was actually my manager that suggested this for number 2, and I couldn't have agreed with him more. I think there can often be tension, whether you're social media savvy and really trying this personal brand route, or if you're just traditionally moving along in the car business. I think inevitably there's tension between salespeople and management. And so what I've really thought over the years and what I've seen and experienced personally is really committing to my store, to Wrestler Motors and to Toyota, has really shown management more than I could have ever told them how committed I am to staying at the store, to selling and bringing value to my customers, and really showing them my buy-in and my commitment.
Do you think that is a main problem these days with turnover, is that there isn't the right balance between, employee showing their buy-in and commitment level as opposed to management also kind of meeting in the middle and not showing their buy-in and commitment level?
I think so. I think we're in an interesting point in the automotive industry. We're still getting a lot of people that have kind of bumbled into it, maybe stumbled from another profession into selling cars by chance. Maybe they don't understand the opportunity that I think exists in the business. And maybe these gentlemen that are in management have been in the business for 20 years, are confused by the internet, are frustrated by lot traffic being down, are frustrated by things like TrueCar that they don't understand. So there's all kinds of, I think, miscommunication that really just builds to tension on the sales floor in the middle of a deal.
Can you, because I think, in my own experience and just my own observations, something that hinders, I guess, majority of people from taking massive action is focusing too much on the how of the action they'll take instead of what the actions are that they'll take. And what you said really resonates, because I observe this all the time working with our clients. You see managers going, holy crap, lot traffic's down, sales are down, leads are down, traffic's down. What do you say to the sales professional that wants to approach their manager to say, here's how I'm going to help things out? Do you know what I mean? Like, what insights can you provide to that? There's somebody kind of nervous right now because they know they need to be doing this, but they also know that they need to get buy-in from management. What are they going to say to their management to get kind of the ball rolling?
I would say never be too confident in it, because I think bravado in our industry can never do well. Just really trying to explain, hey, there's some people seeing some really big success, whether it's Elise Kephart when she was at Sunset Honda, or me or Robert when he worked for Hyundai. There's some people that really saw some huge success from this. This is something I'm really willing to try out, and I want you to know that. But otherwise, I wouldn't involve them too much. My big saying in the business has always been ask for, what's the saying? Ask for an apology.
It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission.
Exactly. And that's what I did a bit with my personal brand. I went for it. They had a vague idea of what I was doing just because I was on the lot with a video camera, but I never said, hey, what do you think about this? Will you proofread this blog post? Will you, that was really never anything I did. I really wanted to show them that.
Pretty much rogue.
Yeah. I wanted to show them that it worked first.
Cool. This leads us to your number 3 problem, which is differentiation. Mm-hmm. What can you say? What solutions do you have to solve the problem of differentiation?
I think it's probably, even though it's number 3, I think it's probably the biggest issue that salespeople face, they may just not realize it, right? They think that they're getting tire kickers or, that it's the customer's fault and he was so silly to have bought from down the road. But what we don't realize is that we're really responsible for this person standing in front of us and for getting the people in front of us. And differentiation, I think, has so much to do with personal branding. I think it's being able to share a message on platforms that, again, are completely free, really gives the opportunity to have trust begun to be built from customers. You can start sharing a message about your store, about your product, your commitment to why you're selling the cars that you're selling. Maybe try and share some personal stories, and enact some storytelling to build trust. And I think it's the biggest way that you can get your face in front of people and really start to get more business so that they're not even considering going down the road.
Sure. And do you think that, the mindset needs to be different? I mean, undoubtedly, your commitment level is not like, oh, yeah, I work over at Wrestler. It's like, no, I'm an automotive sales professional at this dealership. I'm so proud to work there. What allowed you to connect with your dealership in that way? Because I mean, let's face it, I think a lot of people are just 9-to-5ers, like, hey, show up, get the paycheck, kind of meet the quota, maybe, and then go home. Where did that shift happen for you? Because
it happened beginning when I started the personal brand, and that's probably my starting point in regard to advice for anyone that's thinking about starting to reach out on social media and building a personal brand is sit down and make a list of reasons why you work at the store you do. And sometimes they're not, sitting right up front. You've really got to dig for them. But once you highlight those and really kind of commit to the store and to the product that you're selling, you can garner enthusiasm that will sell you cars, will do you worlds of good in regard to views on YouTube. Enthusiasm, I think, sells more than any well-dressed, gentleman.
Mm-hmm. How, here's an interesting question that just came to my mind. You're obviously not the only sales professional at that store.
Right.
Do the others embrace, being under your influence, or is it, is the opportunity as big as it is for sales professionals to really differentiate because not everyone's going to do this stuff?
I would think that the same thing's happening at my store that's happening at all the stores. Even though they're really close to me and they understand that it's been very effective, they are not willing to take the extra steps. And there is some effort involved in making videos and thinking about
and that's
content.
The good news about all of this is that hugely. Nobody wants to do it's easy. Like, I talk to these sales people every day. I tell them that you don't get how easy this really is. It's hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work, but it's going to be easy for you to push through because there's no competition.
Exactly. And I think it's a lot harder to sit there and wait than it is to make a video. By the end of 5 minutes of me watching the lot and sitting and waiting, I'm going broke in my own mind. It's terrible.
It's a good way of putting it.
I'm ripping myself apart, and I may start, in a great, fantastic mood and have had the best coffee that morning, but that idle time really proved to be really, really bad for my psyche. And so I can't imagine. I know that a lot of car salesmen have a fair amount of downtime, and I can't imagine that everybody, wouldn't want to do this and just stop the madness that happens when we have to sit and wait.
It drives you to psychosis. It's like sitting in a rock. I mean, and these people go home at the end of the day and they're like, man, that was such a long day, and wow, I'm so tired, and yada yada yada. And you're going, well, what did you do, dude? You it was like sitting in a rocking chair, like, lots of movement back and forth, but you actually didn't move anywhere.
Right.
And so I like this concept because it's like, hey, just take action.
Right.
Like we talked about in the beginning of the show. There's like 220 some odd thousand car sales.
That's
people.
new car.
That's new car.
Yeah.
That's just NADA. Yeah, that's new car. 220,000 plus new car salespeople in the United States alone. There is a ton of clutter, but you see individuals like Laura, like Robert did, like Elise did, who are making a keyword, operative word, making a positive impact happen on their career, their life, the dealership, the community, by doing some simple actions that are, helping her and helping her brand just really progress. Laura, thank you so much for being on the show today. So many actionable insights. Those of you listening in can get the list of problems and solutions that we talk about in this episode at www.thedealerplaybook.com/ are we 36?
Yeah.
36 episodes into the Dealer Playbook. So www.thedealerplaybook.com/36. Hey, Laura, so, I imagine that lots of salespeople have tons of questions for you on a regular basis. How can those listening in get in touch with you?
The best ways are on the social mediums that I'm already on most of the time. So you can find me at Twitter at Laura Drives. You can go to facebook.com/Laura Drives, and you can check me out on youtube.com/Laura Madison Wrestler. And of course, message me on any of those platforms and I'll likely see it right away.
And Robert, that's Wrestler, RESSLER, not WRESTLER. Hey, there it is. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you here for a few minutes, and love the information that you have.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys
Laura.
so much. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Okay, and right there you have it. That was Miss Laura Madison. Michael, I thought that was great. She's got a lot. Me and her are two peas in a pod, man. I could talk with her for hours.
Dude, right when she started talking iPhones and doing video, I was like, there it is, two peas in a pod, preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
But it's
and
so
the
true,
whole, like being contacted, different salespeople hitting you up all the time, asking you like the most things that they think are important, but aren't, like the whole, what kind of microphone you using? What are you doing to do this?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. She had a ton of cool information about just, simple things. Like you heard her say, it stood out to me. She's like, most of the time after our morning sales meeting, I'll just take a little bit of time and just crank out another video. And that's because she's built up this momentum, and it's just really had a good positive impact for her. You've heard me say that a lot, but that's really what it is. It's a positive impact. It's a change. It's a shift. She's doing these fundamental things like you did and like Elise did, and other rock stars like Mike Davenport and Charles Cannon and Michael Svoboda. They're all doing these things, and they're noticing results. I mean, Laura is one more sales professional who's added her name to the list of those that are, taking action to see results.
Yep. And I mean, the thing is they're taking control. And I've said this before, because whether you're actively building and nurturing your personal brand or not, you have a personal brand, whether you're building one or not. It's what people think about you before actually having an engagement or an experience with you. So, these people are just taking control of it and controlling the perception of what people that have not had an engagement or an experience with them, what they'll think about them.
Yeah, and and we kind of addressed, that's so important, so crucial. I'm glad you brought that up, because you look at the things that people fear in life, and it's typically things that are out of their control. They fear death, they fear getting sick, they fear, all those sorts of things. But you see a group of individuals that say, well, okay, those are out of my control. What is in my control? A lot of people fear mediocrity and usually achieve it because they're not willing to do those simple things like again, you guys did. And so I love that concept that you bring up, which is, hey, I've got control over this, so I'm going to take control because it's mine. So super good episode. Hope you got a lot of valuable nuggets and power bombs out of it. You can check out the show notes where we're going to link you up to some valuable resources like Robert Wiseman's Ultimate Video Guide, which is going to show you, the tools and resources you need to, create video and get started doing that. www.thedealerplaybook.com/36. We're also going to link to Laura's social profile so you can get in touch with her. But again, thanks so much for listening in. Hope you guys have an incredible new year. We wish you guys the best.